$356. $795. Same liver, same medication, same tiredness every single day. What separated them wasn't how sick either man was. It was a number sitting in a service record that neither of them had ever gone looking for. And there's a 100% tier further down that almost nobody reads correctly.
Lewis here. So Diagnostic Code 7345 covers chronic liver disease without cirrhosis, hepatitis B, autoimmune hepatitis, primary biliary cirrhosis, the whole family, and it's a proper graduated ladder, 0, 20, 40, 60, 100.
Kim joining you, and it's the step from 20 to 40 that I want to sit on, because it isn't a step up in symptoms. It's a step into a different kind of evidence.
That's exactly right. 20% asks for at least one symptom off a list. 40% asks for continuous medication, 2 symptoms off that same list, and weight loss.
Kim, and weight loss isn't a vibe. The schedule defines it as a percentage.
Lewis, a percentage of what though? That's the part that undoes people.
Of your baseline. And the schedule defines that too. It's the clinically documented average weight for the 2 years before you got sick, or the weight recorded at your most recent discharge physical.
Erica, that means the denominator is already written down, in your service record, from a day you probably don't remember.
So before we go further, ask yourself this. Do you know what you weighed at your discharge physical? Because that one figure decides whether the weight you've lost counts as 10% or as nothing at all. And there's a version of this rating that pays everything, which I'll come to. One thing before the next part, and then we move right on. If any of this is clicking, tap that like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for the next one. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it helps more than you would think. Let's take the whole ladder in one pass, because seeing all 5 rungs together is what makes the design obvious.
Professor Marchetti's at the desk for this one, and I asked for her specifically because that top rung is written in a way that people consistently misread.
It is worth stating precisely, 0% is a previous history of liver disease, currently asymptomatic. 20% is chronic liver disease with at least one of intermittent fatigue, malaise, anorexia, hepatomegaly, or pruritus. 40 and 60% both require progressive disease on continuous medication with at least 2 symptoms from that group plus arthralgia, and they differ only in the degree of weight loss. And 100% requires progressive chronic liver disease requiring the use of both parenteral antiviral therapy and parenteral immunomodulatory therapy.
Both, not either.
Both, and parenteral, meaning injected or infused rather than swallowed. That is the misreading I see. A veteran on a strong oral regimen assumes it qualifies, and the word parenteral is doing the work there.
And it continues for 6 months after the treatment stops, which is the humane part of that rung.
Marchetti, so realistically, how many people sit at 100?
Very few, and that is the schedule working as intended rather than a barrier. Dual parenteral therapy describes someone in genuine crisis.
Thank you, Marchetti. The word parenteral being load-bearing is the thing I'd have skimmed straight past.
So what's actually on the symptom list? Because you're going to be counting against it.
Lewis, 6 things. Daily fatigue, malaise, anorexia, hepatomegaly, which is an enlarged liver, pruritus, which is itching, and arthralgia, which is joint pain.
Erica, 2 of those aren't words anybody says out loud.
They're not, and that matters more than it should. If you tell an examiner you itch all night, that's pruritus and it's on the list. If you say your joints ache, that's arthralgia and it's on the list. Nobody's going to translate for you, so use the plain words and let the clinician write the Latin.
And anorexia on this list isn't the eating disorder. It's loss of appetite.
Which is worth saying plainly because a veteran who reads that word and thinks it doesn't apply to him has just talked himself out of one of the 2 he needs.
That's the whole scene in a sentence. 20% needs one of these, intermittent. 40 and 60 need 2, plus continuous medication, plus the weight.
Kim, so the counting is easy. The vocabulary is the trap.
Now the definitions that decide everything, and they're unusually precise.
Marchetti's back with us for the arithmetic, because these are numbers rather than adjectives.
Section 4.112 defines them. Minor weight loss is an involuntary loss of between 10 and 20% of the individual's baseline weight sustained for 3 months with gastrointestinal related symptoms. Substantial weight loss is an involuntary loss greater than 20% of baseline sustained for 3 months with diminished quality of self-care or work tasks.
Sustained for 3 months. So a bad fortnight doesn't count.
It does not, and that is deliberate. The schedule is looking for a trend rather than an episode.
Marchetti, and the baseline itself?
The clinically documented average weight for the 2-year period preceding the onset of illness, or, where relevant, the weight recorded at the veteran's most recent discharge physical.
That second option is the gift. Everybody who separated has a discharge physical, and it has a weight on it.
Thanks, Marchetti. 2 years of averages is hard to reconstruct. One line on a separation exam isn't.
Put real money on it, because the abstraction hides how much a documented trend is worth.
Take a single veteran with no dependents, service-connected for autoimmune hepatitis, on continuous medication, tired every day and itching most nights. 2 symptoms, continuous meds, no documented weight change. He's at 20%. Under the rates that took effect this past December, that's $356.66 a month.
Same man. He weighed 210 at his discharge physical, and he's been 185 for the last 5 months.
Lewis, that's 25 pounds off 210, just under 12%.
Which is minor weight loss as the schedule defines it, sustained past 3 months. 40%. $795.84.
$439.18 a month.
$5,270 a year for a weight somebody wrote down anyway.
And I want to be careful here, because this is where these episodes oversell. He doesn't get 40% for having lost weight. He gets it for having lost weight and being on continuous medication and having 2 of the 6. All 3, or it's 20.
So how does somebody actually get that number in front of a rater?
Lewis, start with the discharge physical. If you have your service treatment records, it's in there. If you don't, request them. That's a form, not a fight.
And it's worth saying why that document beats the 2-year average. The average needs somebody to reconstruct years of readings. The separation exam is 1 page with 1 number, already signed.
Then ask for a weight at every appointment going forward. Not because it's interesting, but because sustained for 3 months means 3 months of readings and you can't produce those retroactively.
Erica, that's the part people lose. They come to the exam certain they've lost weight, and there's nothing in the chart that shows it.
A trend is evidence. Remembering you used to be heavier isn't, however true it is.
So the honest question here isn't whether you've lost weight. It's whether anybody wrote it down.
And if the answer is nobody, that's fixable, starting at your next appointment.
Let's put it in the order you'd actually do it, and then say who this isn't for.
Marchetti came back for the last one, and I want her to hear how thin the paperwork bar really is.
Kim, count your symptoms first. Fatigue, malaise, loss of appetite, enlarged liver, itching, joint pain. You need 2 of those, in plain language, in the record.
And I would add, name them at the examination rather than assuming the diagnosis implies them. A rater evaluates what is written, and hepatitis on a problem list does not itself establish daily fatigue.
Marchetti, then the baseline, then the trend.
In that order, yes. The baseline is retrospective and already exists. The trend is prospective and only exists if someone starts recording it.
Now the honest part, because I've described a bigger claim than most people will get. If your liver disease is controlled, you feel broadly fine, and your weight is stable, then 20% is the correct answer and it's worth having, and if you're genuinely asymptomatic, 0% is what the schedule says, and that's not an insult. This code doesn't reward being ill. It rewards being ill in ways somebody documented. So here's what I'd actually do if you're already rated at 20 and you're on continuous medication and you have lost weight. Don't file for an increase this week. Spend 3 months getting weights into the chart, then file. That's the smart play, because the claim you file today is decided on a record that doesn't contain the thing that would win it.
That is sound, and it is the rare case where waiting is the stronger move.
Marchetti, don't vanish before the next messy code.
Bring me another one where the definitions live 3 sections away and I'll clear the afternoon.
Here's the sentence to keep. This ladder is climbed with a scale and a pen, not with a worse diagnosis. Subscribing is free and takes 1 tap, and it puts the next one of these in front of a veteran who's about to file 3 months too early. And if you know somebody on liver medication who's quietly dropped a trouser size, send them this. That's $439 a month sitting in a number nobody logged. I'll go first. I'd have filed immediately and lost, so tell me. Do you know what you weighed at your discharge physical? Find that number, then start the trend. I'm Erica. Go get weighed and take care of yourselves.